I just want to follow up on Sally, that one issue with that identification thing. I don't know that this has come up before, so I would like to see if we could get a letter that would indemnify the county if someone would present and make a withdrawal. Somehow that could happen. If it's happening elsewhere, why couldn't it happen here? I don't think we should be exposed for that kind of thing, or shouldn't, the public shouldn't be. So it's just a concern if that could be followed up on with our, solicitor.
And I would like to address that, if I may.
Sure.
Yeah, I had done some research into this, and essentially a corporation is responsible for their expenses and liabilities. And so is a county. The individuals, meaning the elected officials, are not responsible. It is the county as an entity similar to a corporation that is responsible. And what has been happening in recent years is that rather than asking for a notarization to prove you are who you say you are, not just the banks, but our departments are asking for copies of driver's licenses, birth dates, social security numbers, and they're neatly packaging them all into one document. And this is not just once, but this is repeatedly. And even the FBI director has warned against doing this sort of thing. And in my research, I found the Privacy Act of 1974 that requires a government agency at the local, state, and federal level to disclose to each person whether submitting your social security number is absolutely required. No one can deny you a government service or benefit for failing to provide your social security number unless federal law specifically requires it. So I think what you have is the Patriot Act, and you also have the Privacy Act of 1974, which seem to be butting heads. And indeed, when I read the Patriot Act, it says for a person other than an individual, that's me, a corporation, partnership, or trust, documents showing the existence of the entity are what is really needed. Articles of incorporation, those sorts of things. It is not the individual who has to provide the documentation as to who they are. It is the entity, which in this case is a government. And so I have all that, which I did present to Sally, and request that the bank solicitor review this and provide a written response to me. I got a response from Sally, but not from their solicitor at this point. So.
From the bank?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm telling you, the bank is going to tell you they will put that alert on that system because they do not have your information for those accounts. And they will not be responsible if someone would come in there and say they're due a withdrawal. If that will happen, I mean, what would be the chances would be, what, 99 out of 100? But you can never take that one chance.
They can get a notarized statement from me that would document who I am, and that would also suffice.
If you go into that bank to get a check cashed right now, they will ask you for identification and make a copy of your check or your driver's license. That's how they will cash your check.
Well, with all due respect to your research, I think I'd still like to have an opinion. Since this is new ground for us, even if it's a 1% chance, I think it's worth, at least we know going forward.
I mean, I know what the banks have to go through to meet all their FDIC regulations and stuff. And this is stuff that has come down from the federal government. I think Frank Dow started all this stuff, and I know a lot of it is big banks, but it has also affected the smaller banks, and they have big responsibility to do all this information.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of things that go on in the backgrounds of the banks that people have no idea what they have to do.
if Commissioner Litz is unwilling to comply with this, does she need to be a signer?
She doesn't have to be a signer.
Well,
That would be up to
then
you.
I suggest that we have her removed as a signer, because Commissioner Phillips and I are willing to give you the information that you need.
Well,
She's
everyone else
evidently
that's
not
on
willing
that
to
account
comply
has
with that.
Everyone else on that account has also given me their information. I mean, we have, it's just a requirement that needs to be done. And if I have to go through this every time we have to change a signer or do something in a bank, I mean, we have 60 to 70 accounts. What's that gonna do? I mean, I have to deal with this all the time. And
I'd like to read just this other paragraph from section 1020-220, number 3, lack of verification. The CIP must include procedures for responding to circumstances in which the bank cannot form a reasonable belief that it knows the true identity of a customer. It also provides that I could appear in person and sign that. I have not refused to do any of those things, and I think I should remain as a signer, and I don't think that the county is at additional risk. I think that there is a liberal interpretation of the Patriot Law, and that the Privacy Act from 1974 guarantees my right not to have to provide all my personal information. It goes to identity theft, and I think many of us in this room have probably experienced some form of identity theft at this point. And there's a lot of electronic transmissions. They're talking about Russia hacking into everything. I think it's making things too convenient. It's not a matter of when, but a matter of if, but a matter of when something will happen.
well, I think their procedure is that they will put an alert on that account because we do not have that information.
So let's go back to the request. That's all I wanted, to get an interpretation. Maybe something since 1974 has changed, whatever. Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Ready for adjournment?
Move to
I don't have anything.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Stand adjourned. Thank you.